What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another GGF video, and today I'll be taking a look at this new mouse and keyboard from Angry Miao, which I think that's how you pronounce it. So they recently reached out to me to see if I could check out their new Infinity mouse and also their new Ice Ring 63 HE Hall Effect keyboard. So we'll look at the mouse first. I haven't really used the keyboard at all, but I have been using the mouse a little bit. I've been playing a bit of Battlefield 6 and it does feel really nice from the time I've been using it so far. So straight away, the way they present their products are just, I would say, second to none. Now you might think these are a very expensive Halo product, but they aren't as bad as you might think. So we'll look at the price as well later on in this video. A nice little, I'd say a little briefcase. This one's more of like a foam style little suitcase. Both have carrying handles, and in saying that, you're probably not going to use these again, but hey, if you collect mice and keyboards, it is a good way to store them in. So we'll move that out of the way. So inside, very nicely presented. That's how it looks like there. We have the spare battery and the wireless charger. How it looks there. One battery is orange and one is black, just so you can visually identify. They don't change colors or anything when they're charged. It's just that you can say, well, I'm charging the orange, I'm using the black, and so on. We'll have a look inside this little accessory pack. Not too much there. The only important thing we want to keep track of would be that one there, and I believe there is another bit there. So they look to be some side grips on the mouse. Take the mouse out. So whether or not you like side grips, I normally like grips on my left mouse button, so I won't put this on now. That would go off there and then on the mouse button. You can see how they would represent, and they're kind of a grippy texture. Some spare little feet. I won't open this pack, but you can just see inside there, very small little feet. Some mice have really large ones. These ones have small little feet, and then not too much over there. We have a cable. Showing the cable's not white, I guess, but I guess if you're using this, you're probably going to have this tucked away somewhere at the more of the back of your desk, so you're not really going to see the cable, but I guess having a white cable would have been nice. It actually feels really nice. It's not stiff or anything. A nice braid on there. I'll see if I scrunch this up, if we can focus on some of that braid. There, feels really nice. And then we have the adapter. So you may have noticed that this is Type C to Type C. Not everyone is going to have a Type C input spare on their PC. So we can just run this and switch it back to standard Type A, and then the Type C would go into the charging. I'd call this like a dock, a charging base or anything. And then we also have another little carrying pouch. So we have the larger one and then a smaller one, which looks pretty good. So we'll move this out of the way. All right, so if you're not familiar with this mouse, some of the main features, it's an aluminum exoskeleton design. It really does feel like nothing I've felt before. Like, I use the Logitech Superlight 2. That is a nice mouse, but that's all plastic. It is very light. That's got your more convenient design or your standard design. This, I would say, resembles the same design, but a lot of it has been taken away, machined out, and you're left with this shell-like design. Then it comes in either the cloud white, which is this one, basalt black. The white is the latest one, which is what they've sent me. And default DPI is 16,000. It goes up to 30,000. It's 49 grams wireless. So if I take this second battery out, so it comes with two. Take out the second battery. Now that is running at 39 grams without anything in. So without wireless. So that would be now wired. So you'd plug this in, and that's how you are getting now the 39 grams. And then when you put the battery in, so what you're meant to do is just do that. Battery is in. That'll now bump it up to 49 grams. So they're factoring in 10 grams or so for this battery. It's a dual AK PAW 3950 sensor, and it's running TTC orange dot optical micro switches, and they're the version 2s. I'll just move this up close so we can get a sound. The microphone is just here. And then it's got two side buttons, back or forward. I normally have one of these set to a I normally set 1 to DPI cycle when I game, and then I set 1 to say like melee or knife or something like that. I don't really set too many things. I mainly just play first person shooters, and that's probably what this mouse is for. Wouldn't really be for anything like MMO, although you can use it for that if you want. Connectivity modes, 2.4 wireless, of course, Bluetooth and wired. I think most people will be using this as wireless, as it does do that 8K. I want to talk about the hot swap charging. So basically how it is done takes a while to get used to. For me, having to swap the battery on the fly in such record time isn't such a big deal for me. Some people like to have it like done instantly. They like to do it as fast as possible. So the idea behind this is this would be like on your desk. It's just a shame you have to have the battery out of the charging dock. You can't change the battery with this in. So the idea behind it, this one would be fully charged. You have this out, ready to go. This would sit like, I think it'd be better on that side. That would sit on your desk near your mouse pad. When you're gaming, your mouse stops, battery's flat. What you do is you flick this one out like that, and then you put that one in like that, move that out of the way, throw that back in like that, and continue gaming. But then what you have to do next is this has to be, once this is charged, this one has to be back out, ready to go. Then you just pop this one out and then pop it. I kind of wish there was like a button to eject it. You actually have to put your finger through the hole and just drop it out. And the battery is the magnetic way they've done it is very, very strong. Sometimes it's very hard to, you got to get a good bit of force and then just push it out and out it falls and then swap it. So I think they boast something like 1 second charge time. Technically, that's kind of right. Technically not. It doesn't take 1 second to charge this, but if this one is fully charged and you have 2 batteries, I'm sure you can pick up more batteries. They say the 1 second as in drop that out, put that in. That is 1 second. Yeah, good to go. So for the single battery capacity, you're looking at 340 milliamp hours. 1K polling rate, the endurance of the battery is meant to be around 43 hours. So if you set it in the software, I'll talk about software in a second. If you set it to 1K polling rate, you're looking at 43 hours. And then if you set it to 8K, which is the newer tech now, that is going to drain your battery much faster. You're looking at 17 hours on the 8K, and both of those are at 2.4 gigahertz range. We're not going to bother anything like Bluetooth. And then obviously wired, it's going to be infinite because you're not using the batteries at all. Moving over to the software, if you just Google AM Master, it'll go straight to the web-based utility. It then will download a driver to get the mouse connected. I have turned this on already. The middle for the switch is off. The right where it is now is for 2.4, and then Bluetooth is the other side. So once you fire up the software, you're greeted with the mouse itself. It gives you a good overlay of what all the switches are set to. Then we have things like key map, macro, DPI. There's 8 levels of DPI. 400 is default at 1, and all the way up to, it's only 1200 it's set to, but of course you can change that to anything you like. I normally stay around 800 to 1000. Then we've got different parameters like your debound settings for the 2.4, the Bluetooth. Squidhouse got different standby times, whether it's in Bluetooth mode, 2.4, things like the mouse report rate, liftoff distance, and things like that. The light we can do. Now, all of these top settings are for the dongle. So I can turn the dongle here has gone off. Let me move that out of the way and turn the dongle on. Now I can change the dongle to red, orange, yellow, change it to breathing, change it to neon. I normally like it always on. I'll go with a custom color, set it to something like a light blue, maybe. I normally like light blue for some reason. There we go. And then this last little bit, these last 2 lines are for the mouse. The mouse we can change to, let's try and match the same blue, or let's just change it to a different color first. So it looks a little bit different. It's actually really small to see on this laptop. This laptop has a very high res screen. Let me try and just change it to something red. Might be very bright under these lights, but now that's set to red. Let's just set it back to something like a blue to match the mouse. There we go, that looks the same. So that's pretty cool. They're both synced up, looking the same. Then we have things like reset. You want to reset settings, canceled, and then import and export. You can save the settings. So I think that's most of it on the mouse here. So obviously the mouse report rate would be the important one. As I mentioned, the battery status, the 1000, and then you have the 8000. So what I'm going to do now is probably move some of this stuff away, turn this mouse off so we can have a little bit we'll look at the keyboard, but they mainly wanted me to focus on the mouse. That's the latest thing. The keyboard, the Ice Ring 63. It is a 65% compact keyboard, which is pretty small. I normally use the next size up. For me, I do like something just a little bit bigger, something like a 75. Comes nicely packaged. Move that out of the way. Now let's see what else you actually get. Some colorful WASD keycaps. I nearly said that around the wrong way for some reason. And then we have just another USB cable. This one's much different than the previous one. This one is more of a nylon. Previous one was more like a paracord shoelace style. This one's much more rigid. And now we have the keyboard itself. Now you might be wondering what is going on with this dial. Can really hear that. Definitely has some tactile feedback. I'll cover that in a second. So this one's inspired by the Halo video game series. I'm not sure if that resembles it. I haven't really played that. But then I missed on the mouse. It's actually inspired by the Lotus. I believe it's the Avenora concept car. That's the design that's meant to look like. I'll throw an image up and you can decide whether it looks like that or not. 65% single piece aluminum alloy body. All of this is one piece. So we can see it starts back here and then it wraps all the way around this side and then wraps back here. Obviously the bottom plate is separate, but most of that is one piece. And we'll talk about why they've gone with this very open air design in a little bit. USB Type-C, it's wired only. So there is no battery in this. It has 8K polling rate once again, 16K scan rate. It's got TTC King of Magnetic RGB switches. They are 0.01 millimeter accuracy. Now I haven't really used any HE Hall effect switches, the magnetic ones yet, because I do like my clicky switches. I'm not a competitive gamer. I don't need anything crazy. It's got PBT double shot keycaps. They feel nice. The coating is nice. The font looks good. Nothing outrageous, nothing out there. Let's just do some quick typing tests from here and then we'll move it up. Always this desk isn't quite, got a bit of wobble, so I'll take it off the desk. Escape has a bit of a tinny sound, maybe because it's up in this corner. It's getting some bounce off the frame, but backspaces always feel, I think, the best. Bit of different sound in there. Overall, not too bad. Keyboard is 740 grams, so it's not your heaviest, it's definitely not your lightest. It does have full RGB backlighting. I guess what I could do is I could throw this in. USB cable is actually off to here. You probably could. Yeah, you could actually want to, if you want to route the cable all the way through this chamber and then it could come out that side. That would be pretty cool. All right, so that is up and going now. And what I wanted to talk about is well, first of all, we'll talk about why it's designed to breathe. So apparently Hall effect switches can get a little bit hot. So to help the temperature drift on a magnetic keyboard, effective heat dissipation of the Hall effect sensor is critical. So what they've done, you don't need things like fans or anything like that. You just need as much airflow or air vents as possible. So the whole back there is open, the whole inside there, if we can get a shot on that, you could probably see that straight through onto the desk now, straight through there. So they just added a lot of open areas to get that airflow. Now, what I do want to talk about is this planetary gear set. You might be wondering what's going on here. It may not be important to some people. To me, I don't really care. I don't really go through switching different profiles, but it's got some preset profiles. So when you turn this around, it's going to be hard to see on here. I wonder if I put it on this, because the light changes color to indicate what mode you are in. So it's glowing at the moment. Let me see which. Well, the next one's red. So we are in. All right, so that's it. So let's go back to white. The white was the start. So for the white mode, it is the life mode. So that's everyday use, 2.0 millimeter actuation, and that is the white LED. I'm assuming this one now, as you can see, is pulsating white. So when I move this around, the next one from my documentation is red. There we go. So red is Valorant mode. Valorant mode is esports tested for WASD, 0.1mm actuation and 0.02mm release for instant stops and precise shots. That is the red. If we keep going, next one should be blue. Fingers crossed. Yep. So we are on blue now. We can see that. Yep, that glowing. So blue is battle mode. So that is set up the rapid trigger to 1.0mm actuation and release, and that is the blue. So that's all that one does. Then the next one, when we go through, is green. That is the self-only mode. So that lets you create your own profile, which I'm glad they did that, because it would suck if every profile was predefined and you couldn't do anything yourself. So the software is a little bit different than the mouse. It's called setrt.com. You can just go to the keyboard, Google that, and it'll come up. So straight away, we are greeted with the different modes that this planetary gear will do: life mode, Valorant mode, battle mode, and self-only mode, which I am in. Moving down, we have all the performance options, actuation points, and all that for the key actuation, and then you can select which switch you want to actually change. I won't do any of that here. Then we got lighting effects. We have knob color, which is that one. I won't change that because that's set to the corresponding colors. Then we obviously have keyboard light. So I will go to something like always on. It's not easy to find where it is here. So we can go off. That's one I found. And then we have custom for different keys. We got rain. I might set it to something like a blue. There we go, static. So it's weird. The lighting mode for the knob is always on, which I would believe is static. And then we've got the keyboard light, always on, is named static. So if they could probably fix that, because I was looking for always on. And you got to make sure this color palette option isn't unticked, because I was moving through all the different modes, and then you can't press the color palette. You need to select that. Now I've got that set to a nice blue. There's also things like advanced keys. You got things like your Rappy Snappy, your SOCD, which is that controversy mode, or that controversial mode that you can set. And then you have DKAS and all of that. And then we have other settings like your polling rate, 8,000, and all of that, your language. So pretty simple, don't need to install any software. I guess once you have this set up, you get it configured, away you go. And then if you go to another device, hopefully you have access to download or go to that website, and then you can set it up and you are good to start gaming. Now, last thing I didn't cover was the price on both of these. So the keyboard is coming in at $119 US dollars, and then that does come in 4 different colors. And then for the mouse, you're looking at $139 US for the white, and then $129 for the black. I can only assume for the white, maybe to get this extra different coating. The black might be a little bit different in terms of how that is coated, but I don't think that's too bad. $139. I'm pretty sure most of your high-end Razer, Logitech, even your ROG are either around that price point or even more. But anyway, I think that is it on this video. As I said, I've used this a little bit in Battlefield. It's been really, really nice. It's going to be hard to give up my Logitech Superlight because I'm used to how the wireless charging works on that. You can either use the built-in mouse charging on that mouse, where it's always charging on the mouse pad, or what I've got are third-party chargers where when I'm done gaming, I just mount it on a magnetic dock and it continues charging. I don't need to do anything. Whereas this, I'm going to make sure I have to always have a battery that is on charge, and it's just going to take me a little bit of time to get used to it. But overall, nice mouse, and then the keyboard. I really wish they did something like a full white frame keyboard just to match this mouse, so you had like the perfect combo, just something so you don't have like the silver here and then the whole white. But anyway, I think that's it. I want to thank you guys for watching. I want to thank Angry Miao for sending this out to check out and play with, and we'll see you in the next one.